In my previous life, my younger sister was adopted by a wealthy family. I was adopted by a landscaping worker. Our lives, however, are completely the opposite. Her wealthy parents were utterly cold-hearted. Her brother snapped one of her fingers while she was playing the violin, and she eventually took her own life in a servant's room due to depression. At the same time, her brother proposed to me. She and I were reborn back to the day we were adopted. She beat him to it and threw herself into the landscaper's arms. Shen Changjun, in this lifetime, I will take everything from you, your parents' affection and your brother's admiration. But she didn't know that. All the happiness I had in my past life was just a sham. Mom, please take me home soon. I'll definitely take good care of you both. Seeing Shen Changjun, as she's called now, looking so eager. I know that both she and I have been reborn to the day she was adopted. Two families came today. One of them is the Shen family, one of Anqing's most prominent and wealthy families. Shen's father is a business tycoon with vast assets to his name, and Shen's mother is a nationally renowned cellist. They have only one son, Shen, but Shen has absolutely no interest in music. Peach blossoms bloom everywhere, but bitter melons grow at home. Shen's mother was frustrated that her son wasn't living up to her expectations, but there was nothing she could do about it. So she wanted to adopt a daughter to make up for what she hadn't gotten from her son, the regret of having high hopes for him that went unfulfilled. In comparison, the Chen family's situation seemed rather precarious. Perhaps he had rushed over right after finishing his work. His clothes were worn and dirty, his fingernails were caked with sand, and tools for turning the soil, such as a shovel and a trowel, lay at his feet. They are landscaping workers from poor families with no children. In her previous life, Chen had memorized the musical staff in advance and named several cellists whom Shen's mother admired. Shen's mother thought the boy showed promise, so she took him away without a second thought. But this time, she was the first to rush into Mrs. Chen's arms, as if she were afraid I'd try to take her place. Shen's mother covered her nose with a handkerchief and looked at Chen in confusion. Then he turned his gaze toward me. "What makes you special?" I blinked. The next second, he recited the musical staff fluently and even named several of Ms. Chen's star pupils and their representative works. Shen's mother took my hand with a look of satisfaction, and I noticed a hint of surprise and wildness in her eyes. When she turned her head, she met Chen smug gaze. Her lips seemed to be forming the word stupid. I let the corners of my mouth turn up slightly. She didn't know. She is the one who is truly foolish and about to fall into the abyss. In our past life, our lives were dramatically reversed. The Shen family treated Chen coldly and callously, and Shen turned a blind eye to the humiliation she suffered. Furthermore, Shen's mother was pathologically strict when it came to music. She required Shen not only to maintain excellent grades but also to practice for a full 4 hours every day. Chen was only pretending to love the cello. In reality, she knew nothing about it and had no musical talent. My swollen, red, and bleeding finger hasn't had a single good day. Seeing that she wasn't making any progress, Shen's mother grew increasingly disdainful and impatient with her, adding another hour to her daily routine while continuing to subject her to emotional manipulation. This went on until Shen snapped Chen finger. When Shen's parents found out, they didn't react much. On the grounds that she had dishonored the family name, she was confined to the servants' quarters and eventually committed suicide due to depression. She committed suicide just as Shen was proposing to me. Dozens of luxury cars, roses scattered all over the ground. It was absolutely magical, with tens of millions of people watching the live stream. Maybe she saw how well I was doing and just wanted to take everything away from me. But what she didn't know was that all the happiness of my past life had been a sham. The Chen family's parents just wanted a daughter to take care of them in their old age. They were afraid a son might not be reliable. I was often called upon to help them with their work, taking care of meals for the whole family and doing odd jobs. As for Shen, he doesn't love me as deeply as the rumors suggest. Behind my back, he and his group of friends did everything they could to humiliate me. They forced me to do a sexy dance while they whistled lewdly from the audience and called me a whore and a slut. When his business partner groped my waist, he just smiled and told me not to make him angry. They even stuck glass shards all over my cello and made me play it, and even with my hands covered in blood, I still had to pour them drinks. I'm just a harmless plaything for these wealthy young men to amuse themselves with. He only proposed to me to get back at his white moonlight for returning to China. After winning back his true love, he announced right on the day of the engagement party that he was switching brides. I became a laughingstock and eventually died in an earthquake, with no one to recover my body. Not only will I have access to the very best resources and the most outstanding cello teachers by joining the Shen family in this lifetime, but I'll also enjoy the finest food, clothing, and living conditions. You don't have to get up at the crack of dawn and stay up late just to find time to study. Don't let them brainwash you every day with stuff like, what's the point of a girl doing well in school? Just hurry up and get married. Not to mention putting up with Shen just for the sake of the music I love. After having endured the humiliation at the hands of Shen in his past life, his current tactics seem incredibly childish. Shen Changjun, if you want to be my little sister, you'll have to win over my brothers first. Shen invited his friends from the industry and pulled me, who was practicing the piano, into the center of their attention. Someone joked. Shen, she's your sister after all. Don't your parents have anything to say about you teasing her like this? Shen lifted my swollen finger and gently patted it. His movements were gentle, but the pain made my whole body tremble. He slowly took in the expression on my face and smiled dismissively. Ha, she's just a little diversion to keep me entertained. Who does she think she is? Does she even deserve it? I poured hot soup on her, called her a slut who seduces men, and made her stay in the pool all night, and they all just stood by and let it happen. With that, he reached out and clamped his fingers around my chin, narrowing his eyes menacingly. Go ahead, tell me, how are you going to make my brothers happy? The malice in his eyes, and the looks of others waiting to see the show play out. I felt like a sheep that had wandered into a pack of wolves, waiting for them to tear me to pieces. I gave a faint smile, looked around, and walked over to one of them. Would you like to get to know each other? They both froze for a moment, looked at each other, and whistled playfully. Oh, so we're the target after all. You've set your sights on him, are you hoping to marry into a wealthy family? The man in front of me, however, looked thoroughly intrigued. You're kind of cute, so I wouldn't mind having some fun with you. Instead of joking around with the others, Shen Chen's face turned ashen, and he slapped me across the face. You shameless slut, is that all they teach you at the orphanage? Her red, swollen cheeks actually stirred the man's compassion. Hey, look at that pretty face, it's all swollen. Young Master Shen doesn't seem to care, but I sure do feel bad for her. Suddenly, the sound of a lawnmower could be heard, and someone looked out the window. Hey, young Master Shen, are all the workers at your house this good-looking? Shen recognized Shen Nan immediately. Not sure what had crossed his mind, a look of nostalgia flashed across his face, and he immediately let out a derisive snort. He walked out the door and stood there, arms crossed, watching her. Why would you give up being a rich young lady to become a factory worker? What were you thinking? Shen Nan saw the redness and swelling on my face from a distance and felt a secret sense of joy. He then said innocently, coming from an ordinary family like mine, I just want to grow up in peace and happiness, I don't seek wealth or prestige. Shen tapped his back molar and walked over to her side. Come on in and take a break, have something to eat. It won't take long. Shen Nan, however, took a few steps back like a startled rabbit, without even looking at him. I still have work to do, so I'm going to mow the lawn somewhere else. I'm really sorry for disturbing you. With that, he turned and walked away. Huh. Interesting. Shen watched her walk away, licked his lower lip, and his eyes betrayed his absolute determination. I know, that's the look of someone who's found a new toy. He probably won't think of me again for a while. Actually, I have some musical talent. Otherwise, Shen wouldn't have taken a liking to me. At that time, Chen's mother had just passed away, and Chen's father had already made arrangements to sell me to a man who had driven away several wives. Outraged by the injustice, I took out my cello, which cost several thousand yuan, and played it in the park. When Shen saw this, he gave Chen's father some money and severed the foster parent-daughter relationship between him and me. Please also put me in touch with the best cello teacher. The condition was that he act as a stand-in for his beloved. For the sake of music, and to pay off my debts, I gave myself to him, letting him boss me around and humiliate me, all just to spite his white moonlight. For Chen Nannan, 4 hours of piano practice was nothing short of torture. But for me, it's having a cello worth over $1 million and the guidance of Shen's mother, a cellist. I had to hold myself back with all my might to keep from laughing. Whenever my mother rushed home from a dinner party, she would find me practicing the piano, and then she would point out my mistakes. Day after day, my playing gradually won her over, and she began to treat me more kindly. He also took me to a few dinners with cellists, and I gradually became part of that circle. Before Shen realized it, I had already gained a little influence in this household. Shen was extremely flamboyant in his pursuit of her, flowers, luxury cars to pick her up and drop her off, and declarations of love that just rolled off his tongue. All of this made Chen Nannan unable to stop herself, and she was soon hooked. Chen Nannan has also contacted me a few times. Wow, your fingers are so swollen, and you're still trying to study? Can you even hold a pen? That bitch must have been really nasty, huh? That bitch refers to Shen's mother. My hands are swollen because Mrs. Shen signed me up for a cello competition a month from now, and I've been practicing like crazy day and night ever since. Shen sure knows how to be cruel, doesn't he? Hey, he just can't seem to learn to care about anyone but me. Because of your devotion, Shen can't even remember me anymore. You'll find out soon enough if it's brutal or not. At some point, Chen Nannan's face suddenly looked haggard and frazzled, and the look in her eyes as she gazed at Shen was a mix of love and hate. The bruise at the corner of her mouth was covered with white powder, and her exposed arms were also covered in scars, including burns and bruises from cigarette ash. Did he used to treat you like this too? I replied with a smile, it's even worse than that. Upon hearing my words, she, who had been filled with fear, instantly relaxed. That's good. If the process is the same as yours, then the outcome will surely be the same too. As long as I can be more patient than you, he'll definitely propose to me. Then, just like in the novel, he'll make it up to me twofold and treat me with tenderness. I looked at her with a blank stare. But she thought I was jealous, and became even more arrogant. At the competition a month later, I won the championship, just as I had hoped. Shen's mother couldn't stop smiling. Shen had arrived at some point without anyone noticing. Seeing this unfamiliar, dazzling version of myself, he just stared straight at me without saying a word. I let him look me over without hesitation. After what happened, the Shen family won't let Shen bully me anymore. Shen gave an ambiguous smile. He immediately grabbed me by the neck, tightened his grip, and leaned close to my ear. Wow, Shen Changjun, you really pulled it off. You actually convinced my mom to let you compete while I wasn't looking. A toy should look like a toy. If I'm your little sister. I reminded him that I'm not the same person I used to be. Shen Chen's expression darkened instantly. He let out a scoff, then dragged me into an empty room and shoved me onto the bed. He slowly undid the buttons on his shirt, revealing his lean waist. Well, if your older brother slept with you, his little sister, how would you feel? My heart sank a little. There are all kinds of important people down there, and Mom is going to introduce me to them. If you really insist on forcing the issue, I'm not afraid to go down with you. Shen looked at me with a cold expression, but he held back and didn't take the next step. Shen Chin really didn't dare. He just wanted to scare me a little and test my patience. He wants me to recognize my true identity and my place in the Shen family. He gritted his teeth, suddenly staring at me intently, then reached out to grip my chin and pull me closer. I've noticed that you're more like her. I know who he's talking about. His one and only, who is far away overseas. But at that moment, I didn't know that yet, so I teased, then why don't you go down and see her? He laughed out loud. You're so quick-witted, wouldn't it be better to become my woman? Once you're no longer of any use to them, your parents will abandon you in a heartbeat. Just because Shen Chen's mother values me doesn't mean he'll suddenly accept me and treat me like family. Even he knows this is only temporary, and I know it just as well. So I need to build up enough strength and grow quickly so that when I'm eventually kicked out, I won't end up in such a sorry state. But that day will never come. Is that so? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. Shen Chin stared intently at my face, trying to catch even the slightest sign of panic. But I let him down, my face showed nothing but sarcasm and indifference. He rolled over and sat up at the head of the bed, then lazily lit a cigarette. You have a fiercer personality and are more of a challenge, but you're still no match for her. I picked up the trophy, waved away the smoke, and said half-heartedly, yeah, she's the best. Thankfully, he didn't wrinkle my clothes. Otherwise, as soon as I stepped outside today, rumors would have started flying again. When she returned to Mrs. Chin's side, her face betrayed a hint of displeasure and hesitation, but she refrained from showing it, mindful of the situation. She found out that Shen Chin had pulled me into the room. As long as my mother still recognizes me as her daughter, I will continue to bring honor to the Shen family. I immediately made it clear that I had no designs on becoming the future Mrs. Shen, and that I could bring benefits to the Shen family. My decision to come forward pleased Mrs. Shen very much. She took my hand and squeezed it gently, just as she always did. Taking you out of the orphanage was the right decision. I hope you won't let me down. Shen's mother kept bringing up the orphanage, constantly reminding me that she, in her generosity, had rescued me from hell and that I should be eternally grateful to her. It's also a threat, they have the right to decide whether I stay or go. After that, Shen's mother signed me up for a few more major competitions. A few more hours were added to the training schedule. Unlike usual, Shen Chin would stand nearby watching me play the violin, and the look on his face clearly showed he was lost in some kind of memory. In the competitions that followed, I won one gold medal after another. Shen's mother looked proud, and her attitude toward me grew increasingly gentle. He'd also say to Shen Chin, "Changjun is your sister, you can't keep acting like such a jerk like you used to. There are so many people watching you." He answered politely, but the look in his eyes as he looked at me grew even deeper and more dangerous. Mrs. Shen hosted a banquet for me, marking my official entry into high society as a member of the Shen family. Shen Chin invited his group of friends, as well as Chen Nan. Chen Nan stared at me, who seemed like a completely different person, with eyes wide with fury, her hands clenched tightly, and a fiery glint in her eyes. She opened her mouth but no sound came out as she said, "Why? Why?" Only after clinging to Shen Chen's arm was she able to calm down a little. Shen Chen noticed Chen Nan's unease, gave me an amused look, then leaned down to kiss her before walking back to the room with his friends. When it was time for Shen Chen to be there, Shen's mother told me to call him down. As soon as I pushed open the door, I was met with a scene of debauchery, filled with vulgar language, deafening music, and the air thick with a sticky, cloying smell and the pungent odor of alcohol. At that moment, Shen Chen, like everyone else, was looking intently at the center of the room with excitement. In the center, Chen Nan was dancing enthusiastically, wearing only her underwear, which barely covered her body. "Shen Chen, Miss Liang has arrived. Mother asked you to show her around the Shen family estate." Shen Chen didn't seem to hear her. He pressed his lips to the fragrant lips of the woman beside him, then swallowed lightly, and a bit of wine spilled from the corner of his mouth. I've delivered my message, so I'll go ahead and... Don't walk so fast. Suddenly, a powerful force grabbed me and pulled me toward her, leaving me no choice but to go. Everyone was having a great time, but as soon as you walked in, everyone lost their enthusiasm, and Aiken isn't happy either. Why don't you join us on the dance floor and get the party going again? Maybe Aiken will be generous enough to forgive you. There was complete silence. Without exception, everyone looked at Chen Nannan as if she were mentally disabled. Chen Nannan was so blinded by jealousy that she couldn't see the reality of the situation. The banquet downstairs is being held for me, but I'm not the woman I used to be. I'm not the kind of woman who comes to please them. Seeing that I wasn't moving, Chen Nannan tightened her grip even more. Don't be so rude to Aiken, he's really scary when he gets angry. The next second, I shook off her hand and slapped her hard across the face. Angry? You have no idea, I can be really scary when I get angry. Chen Nannan, clutching her red, swollen cheek, was startled by me and ran over to Shen Changjun, sobbing as she poured out her grievances to him. You're just an adopted daughter of the Shen family, do you really think you're some big shot? Aiken said you're nothing but a slut. Ah. Suddenly, there was a piercing bang. It turned out to be Shen Changjun, who smashed the glass in his hand, his voice gentle yet icy. Nan, Changjun is my younger sister, a member of the Shen family. Are you trying to embarrass me in front of everyone? I didn't expect Shen Changjun to stand up for me, Chen Nannan said, taken aback, and quickly explained. No, I was just helping you teach her a lesson. She's so ungrateful, and she's always getting on your nerves. I was just letting off some steam for you. The coldness in his eyes deepened. Do I need your help? Of course not, I'm helping you. Shen Changjun was extremely impatient. Without listening to her explanation, he lazily pointed at the pile of broken glass. Go up there, and I'll forgive you. Chen Nannan was visibly panicking as she tugged at Shen Changjun's pant leg, pleading desperately. Aiken, don't treat me like this. I love you. I'd do anything for you. Shen Changjun lifted her chin with 2 fingers. Then why don't you step on it? So you've been lying to me all along? Chen Nannan broke out in a cold sweat and began to tremble. But having finally managed to get close to Shen Changjun, she wasn't about to let all her hard work go to waste. Chen Nannan blamed me for everything and stomped on me in anger. The glass mercilessly sliced into the soles of her feet, and the sight of the blood instantly sparked excited cheers from the crowd. Some people even urged her to hurry up, threw cash at her, and humiliated her in every possible way. It was exactly the same as what happened to me back then. It's just that, at the time, I had no choice. Chen Nannan, however, was doing it willingly. Chen Nannan crawled back to Shen Changjun's feet, her face contorted with pain. She looked at Shen Changjun with eyes full of hope, like a little puppy afraid of being chased away. Aiken, I know I was wrong. Will you forgive me? I'll do whatever you say. Shen Changjun stroked Chen Nannan's hair again and again, speaking gently yet looking at me with an amused expression. Of course, you were being too disobedient just now. If you want to follow me, you have to put me first. As I was taking a break in the hallway, I caught a glimpse out of the corner of my eye of Chen Nannan stumbling toward me. Her face was deathly pale from blood loss. Did he used to treat you like this before? Make you dance like a stripper in front of his friends, and make you walk on broken glass? When did he start falling in love with you? Tell me quickly, how much longer do I have to endure this torment? I looked at Chen Nannan, who was on the verge of losing her mind, and let out a sorrowful sigh. No matter how good the cards she's dealt her, she won't play them well. Why should I tell you? With that little patience, you still think you can win? Actually, you can leave him and make it on your own. But I know Chen Nannan won't listen to my advice. She's selfish and self-serving, fixated on following in my footsteps, thinking she can become Mrs. Shen just like I did in my past life. Besides, she can't afford to take that risk. Precisely because Chen Nannan had already hooked up with Shen Chen early on, she never had to go through any of the beatings and verbal abuse I endured at the Chen household in my previous life, nor did she have to deal with having most of my wages stolen. With the college entrance exams approaching, she was completely focused on winning Shen Chen's favor, skipping classes for several weeks and causing her grades to plummet. For her, becoming Mrs. Shen was far better than going to college and having to worry about finding a job. More importantly, Chen's mother had recently passed away, and it was only because of Shen Chen that Chen's father hadn't rushed to marry her off, though he had certainly threatened her. That's why Chen Nannan was obsessively determined to succeed in becoming Mrs. Shen. Sure enough, Chen Nannan thought I was jealous and just trying to brush her off. And then you'll be able to take advantage of the situation, is that it? Let me tell you, Shen Changjun, I will definitely become Mrs. Shen. And you, too, will be kicked out of the Shen family before long. I'm just waiting to see you make a fool of yourself. Unfortunately, Chen Nannan won't live to see that day. Because Shen Chen's one and only had returned to China. Shen Chen seemed to have come to terms with his true feelings and, like a prodigal son returning home, began to devote himself entirely to Chen Nannan. Take her to various clubs and high society gatherings. Chen Nannan raised her arm, which was nearly completely covered in jade and gold bracelets, making her appear shallow and tacky. Akin has finally seen how wonderful I am, and he's fallen deeply in love with me. He won't have anyone but me. I've finally made it through. If I'd listened to you back then and given up on Akin, wouldn't that have been exactly what you wanted? I'm not that stupid. Just wait for Akin to propose to me, and then you'll be the happiest woman in the world. In response, I just chuckled and said, that good fortune really suits you. I didn't have to wait long before the three-way showdown finally began. At the birthday party for Lin Shi, Shen Chen's one true love. When Shen Chen appeared, his arm affectionately draped around Chen Nannan's waist, the boisterous room immediately fell silent, not a sound could be heard. Everyone's gaze shifted back and forth between the three of them, their eyes brimming with curiosity and excitement. Completely oblivious, Chen Nannan ran her fingers over the large, suggestive mark on her neck and leaned against Shen Chen. Sorry, everyone. Chen and I got held up by something, so we're a little late. It's all my fault, I took too long to get ready. Luckily, Akin waited patiently for me. Akin is the best to me. She didn't notice that ever since he walked in, Shen Chen's gaze had been fixed on the center of the room, where Lin Shi was sitting. Lin Shi's darkening expression and tightly pursed lips revealed his displeasure. Seeing that he had achieved his goal, Shen Chen became even more patient with Chen Nannan. I've always been kind to the women I like. It's just that a certain someone turned her nose up at it. Chen Nannan was so swept off her feet by Shen Chen's heartfelt confession that she didn't hear clearly, nor did she bother to think about who exactly that person in the second half of his sentence was referring to. Just then, Lin Shi strolled over and shot Shen Chen a contemptuous glance. When did your taste get so bad that you'll eat just about anything? Shen Chen stared blankly at Lin Shi's face as she leaned in and said casually. Just a toy. It climbed up on its own, you can't even shoo it away. What, are you already nervous over something this small? Chen Nannan stared in disbelief at the man who, just moments ago, had been pouring out his heartfelt confession to her only to suddenly refer to her as his plaything. She couldn't accept this change and couldn't help but feel flustered. Akin, did I do something wrong? Why did you call me a plaything? Aren't I the woman you love most? He turned to look at Lin Shi and, thoroughly enraged by the sarcasm on her face, reached out and shoved her hard. Lin Shi didn't expect the other person to attack so suddenly. Caught off guard, he stumbled backward but was caught just in time by Shen Chen, who was standing closest to him. After Shen Chen caught it, he turned around and seemed like a completely different person. Gone was the gentle gentleman from a moment ago. He lunged at Chen Nannan like a raging lion and delivered several more heavy kicks. You lowlife, who do you think you are, laying a hand on Lin Shi? Chen Nan was curled up, crying out in pain and unable to straighten his back. But her right hand clung tightly to Shen Chen's pant leg as she said, unwilling to let go. Aiken, what's wrong? That shameless bitch dared to seduce you, I'll teach her a lesson for you. Lin Shi let out a snort of derision that sounded as sweet as a silver bell. You still don't get it, do you, stand-in? Now that the real one is back, you're bound to be cast aside. Chen Nan seemed to suddenly realize something, but she was so startled by the answer that she could only shake her head in fear. I'm the one he really loves, Aiken can only love me. Aiken will propose to me in the not-too-distant future, and I'll be the happiest woman in the world. You villain, you're trying to steal my happiness, but I won't let you get away with it, you bitch. Shen Chen grew even more disgusted with Chen Nan's rambling. Chen Nan was just something I used to pass the time. Since Lin Shi had successfully made him jealous and achieved his goal, there was naturally no reason for him to stay any longer. He tossed her a card and had the security guard throw the person out of the hotel. I left early and found Chen Nan still standing at the door, screaming like a madwoman. As soon as she saw me, Chen Nan immediately scrambled to her feet and rushed toward me. I dodged, and she fell to the ground in a heap once again. Since Shen Chen proposed to you, it means he doesn't love Lin Shi anymore, she's a thing of the past. But why did Shen Chen abandon me for her? What exactly went wrong? Shen Changjun, how on earth did you get Shen Chen to willingly propose to you? Now that all the lies have been exposed, Chen Nan still refuses to believe the truth and is playing dumb. But she brought it all on herself. After everything you've been through with Shen Chen, do you still think he loves me? He proposed to me just to get back at Lin Shi. Otherwise, would anyone publicly humiliate the person they love? Just because you're a masochist, does that mean he's a sadist? You're too obsessed with him, so you've come up with excuses for all of his unreasonable behavior. Her eyes were filled with hatred for Shen Chen's callousness, and even more so for my failure to tell her. So you didn't tell me on purpose, you wanted to see me fall right into your trap, didn't you? I'm not taking the blame for this. Have you ever stopped to think about where the problem actually lies? 2 lifetimes, 2 families, you've ruined them both. You're so full of yourself and stubborn as a mule. The more I spoke, the more despair spread across Chen Nan's face, and her gaze was filled with resentment. Without Shen Chen, she would soon be forced by Chen's father to marry a middle-aged man who had driven away several wives. Chen Nan dared not imagine what would happen after she got married. How on earth did you manage to win their approval and become Miss Shen? I just know how to seize every opportunity. That's all. In my past life, whenever Shen Chen was uncharacteristically kind to me, I was extra cautious. After learning the truth from his friend, I felt completely at ease accepting Shen Chen's kindness. I kept the receipts for all the jewelry, luxury evening gowns, and other items he gave me. These are all the startup funds I used to get my life back on track after being abandoned. After cashing it out, I hadn't really had a chance to enjoy life yet when the earthquake struck. The biggest difference between me and Chen Nan is that she is a one-track-minded woman who only wants to rely on a man's affection to secure that position. As for me, I don't want to take such a roundabout approach. Power and money must both be firmly in my hands. Thanks to my mother's dedicated guidance, I became a moderately well-known cellist who spent much of the year traveling to various places to compete in competitions. Back at the Shen family home, she spent most of her time in the music room. Opportunities to meet Shen Chen were few and far between. But then, one day out of the blue, Shen Chen started showing up around me. Whether in the music room or at the competition venue, his presence is always felt. The way he pursued me relentlessly, along with the emotion in his eyes, gave me a bad feeling. After a competition ended, as I was returning to my hotel room, Shen Chen blocked the door and forced his way in. My guarded demeanor stung him. I'm not going to do anything to you, I just want to let you know that I've broken up with Lin Shi. She's nothing but a spoiled princess who's arrogant and unreasonable. And I made a mistake in my past life. Ever since I started dating Lin Shi, all I can think about is you. I've just realized that you're the one I love. I didn't know how to cherish you, and that's why I let you. That's enough. My hunch turned out to be right, he was reborn too. Fortunately, he came back late enough. I've already gained fame, fortune, and power. As long as I don't make any unforgivable mistakes, Shen Chen's parents won't let him just cast me out. I instantly regained my composure and laughed coldly. That was in a past life. I have no interest in reminiscing with you about the past. All you need to know is that, for the rest of my life, I'm your sister in name only, and you'll never be able to treat me as if I were disposable again. Shen Chen reached out but didn't dare touch me, his eyes filled with emotion as he said. They're not your biological parents, so they won't say no. Just give me one more chance, and I'll treat you like a precious treasure and protect you. Unfazed, I opened the door and said, please, come in. You two have been hooking up for a while now, haven't you? If I can't be happy, none of you will be either. Standing right outside the door was Chen Nan. She looked like a woman in her 30s, wearing baggy, tattered clothes, with her hair in disarray, her face covered in bruises, and a look of madness in her eyes. As he spoke, he raised the water bottle and splashed it at Shen Chen, who was standing closest to him. Suddenly, everything started spinning, I felt a chill on my face, and the clothes on my front were soaked through. Ha ha ha, this is sulfuric acid. With your face disfigured, will you still be able to stay with the Shen family and be a cellist? Ha ha ha. On that chilly winter night, my heart grew completely cold. When Chen Nan saw that she had successfully splashed it on my face, she burst into a triumphant laugh. Behind me, Shen Chen was still clutching both of my arms tightly. It wasn't until she heard Chen Nan's voice that she snapped back to her senses, still feeling a lingering sense of fear, and slowly let go. Changjun, I was so scared, that's why. That's why. I let out a little gasp and wiped the water from my face with my sleeve. Just a moment ago you said you'd protect me, and now you're pushing me out there as a human shield. Shen Chen, you really make me sick. Just as Shen Chen was thinking of a way to defend himself, Chen Nan caught onto something. Why is your face still okay? This is water. How could it be water? Chen Nan met my smiling gaze, thought of something, and turned and ran out. I said to Shen Chen. Aren't you going to go after her? She wants you dead. Shen Chen, feeling guilty, didn't dare look up at me and immediately ran after him. Silence once again fell over the room. Before long, I received a message. Reports indicate that in what appears to be a romantic dispute, a man was stabbed and admitted to the ICU, while a woman was stabbed more than a dozen times and died from excessive blood loss. Shen Chen had several knife wounds on his face and body. The most severe one was on his lower abdomen. The doctor said there is a high probability of infertility. Chen Nan's abdomen had more than a dozen fatal stab wounds, almost all of which went all the way through, a clear sign that the assailant had acted with extreme cruelty. Consequently, Shen Chen was sentenced to 3 years in prison for causing death through excessive self-defense. Chen's mother wept her heart out, and Chen's father looked several years older overnight. He shut himself in his study all day. After we came out, he patted me on the shoulder and said solemnly, "The future of the Shen family rests on your shoulders. Don't let us down." The moment Shen's father spoke, it meant that, for the first time in my life, I would finally be able to take control of my own destiny. Ever since Chen Nan got married, I've had people keep a close eye on her every move. Never underestimate someone who has nothing left to lose. They'll bite off a chunk of your flesh the moment you let your guard down. You won't die, but the pain will be unbearable. When I found out she was looking for sellers of sulfuric acid online, I pretended to be a seller. If you give her a sample to test, once she's convinced, she'll naturally have complete faith in the water bottle filled with water. Knowing she would be coming to the hotel that night, I set things up so she would see me and Shen Changjun together. When she gets angry, she's capable of doing just about anything. It's just a case of tit for tat.